30 seconds and counting.
How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another video. Stephen Silas's coaching has been one of the biggest talking points in Rockets media right now. Everyone has something to say about how Stephen Silas has been performing as a coach, and one of the biggest criticisms or discussion points on Stephen Silas has been his rotations. With that being said, though, one of the best or most effective lineups that Stephen Silas has played so far this season was seen in on the Rockets' last game against the OKC Thunder, where in a game where Kevin Porter Jr. was out due to a quad injury, which he suffered against the Golden State Warriors, this left the point guard role to be played or shared by Jalen Green and Eric Gordon. Despite this sort of, you could say, lack of playmaking ability on the team with Kevin Porter Jr. out, a team that already struggles with playmaking and point guard play is now without its, at least on paper, its point guard. They still played really, really well. That issue was not really as evident, even with Jalen Green, who has never really been listed as a point guard. He's mostly been a pure shooting guard, yet he filled in pretty admirably at that point guard role with a small ball lineup that consisted of Jalen Green, Eric Gordon, Jayshawn Tate was as a 4, Christian Wood at the 5, and the small forward position was rotated by multiple players. You saw Kenyon Martin Jr. there, Daniel House was there, Garrison Matthews even played some minutes there, and that's something that we'll talk about a little bit later as a small forward position. However, that lineup was very, very effective, and Stephen Silas had something to say about it in the post-game press conferences as well, where he said, if we continue to play smaller with Seawood at the 5, it leaves me with 3 centers. Finding time for all 3 makes it difficult. If I want Seawood to play a good amount of minutes at the 5, it's hard to play LP and Daniel Theis together. Again, this is referring to the fact that Sengun only played 5 minutes in this game. And the minutes issue is something that we will be talking about a little bit later on in this video. But for now, I just want to talk for a little bit about the small forward issue. Again, a lot of small forward minutes in this in this OKC Thunder game was played by Daniel House. But again, as we all know, Daniel House has been really, really disappointing so far this season. And I don't think that the future is there with him at the small forward position. However, there's not really a lot of options right now at that small forward position. Your top options right now are probably, you're looking at either Kenyon Martin Jr. or Garrison Matthews, maybe David Nwaba, but mainly Martin and Matthews. And there are issues with both of them. With Garrison Matthews, it's only been a couple of games. I don't even think it's been a couple of games. I think that might have been his first game with the team that he's really had a really noticeable performance. I don't think that he, in any point in his tenure with this team, is going to be at a starting role. And I don't think that's his role anyway. I think his job is to sort of come off the bench, be that sharpshooter type of guy, play a little bit of defense. With Kenyon Martin Jr., I think I can see him starting a little bit more, but even then, I'm more envisioning his role as being a 6-man off the bench to sort of help in that front court with Sengun because of his shot blocking ability. He's really the perfect guy to place next to Sengun because of his defensive versatility and also his abilities on offense as both vertical spacing and also the 3-point shot, which has been inconsistent, but it has been there at times. And so it kind of leaves a hole at the small forward spot. I feel like this will be addressed at some point, whether it is with a trade or something like that, or maybe in the very distant future through the draft. But with Tate at the power forward and Wood at the 5, it leaves a hole at the small forward position, which is probably just going to have to be just sort of filled by committee in a way. You're not going to see one person probably exclusively take that spot in this lineup. It's going to be a rotation at the small forward position between Daniel House, depending on when he plays well, Kenny Martin Jr. and Garrison Matthews. Now, there is another rotation dilemma, and that is at the big man position. Of course, the Rockets are currently featuring 3 big men who consistently get minutes, and that is Daniel Theis, Alperen Sengun, and Christian Wood. Each of these guys has had their own fair share of upsides and downsides so far this season, and I think this is a real question mark, and this is what's really going to make or break this lineup, is how this center rotation is worked out. And we're going to have to go deeper into each of these guys to see where the answer really lies at this big man position.
All right. Yeah. So it's really tough to play three, decent big man, a solid amount of minutes in these games. Let's start with like Daniel Tice. So hypothetically, if Christian Wood is starting at center, which he most likely will, and then we have to choose between either Daniel Tice and Alperen Sengun to come off the bench. And let's start with Tice. So first, I want to just mention that like Tice isn't as bad as people are making him. When you look at what Tice is, when his strength, he's a very solid, pick and roller and rim rolling center at who plays well when he is the only pick and roll and rim running center. Throughout this season, he's been playing alongside Christian Wood, whose strength is the same thing, being a pick and roll rolling center. So when you have two of them together, the spacing is just terrible, and their numbers just come off as like not great. So Tice, I feel like if he is the one center off the bench, or like if he's the only center playing in a specific lineup, he can definitely be a lot more effective than what people have sought him to be, because now he's becoming, everyone's just hating on him because of his bad stretch of games alongside Christian Wood. But he's not actually that bad. He brings a little bit of floor spacing, and he is actually not that bad of a 3-point shooter. He's gonna just roll out to the 3-point line once in a while, hit an open 3 or 2, and cause some other opposing team centers to come out and guard him anyways. So he's also a plus defender, which you can't really say anything about that. He is probably the best defending center big man that we have. I mean, Alperen Sengun is also like fairly good, but I feel like if Tice is just slightly better in that regard. And at the same time, we just signed Tice to be that defensive anchor, and we paid him all this money to come to Houston. So it doesn't really make sense to not play him. That we brought him in solely so he could be that guy. And we didn't really expect Alperen Sengun to like come out and be this good. We're glad he is this good, but this leaves Coach Silas with that problem of, what do we do? Do we play Tice? Do I play Sengun? Is Tice having a better game? Is Sengun having a better game? And speaking of Sengun, he has displayed an extremely, extremely high passing IQ. He has somewhat shown the ability of stretching the floor as well. And then he just makes the offense flow so much better for our team. Our half court offense with him on the court, surrounding him with 3-point shooters, with cutters like KJ, it's beautiful to watch. Very Denver Nuggets, like Nikola Jokic-esque offense. And that's really what we can see from Sengun. He's maybe not to a Jokic level on the offensive side, but definitely like a Domantas Sabonis, maybe like a Donatas Montejunas hybrid, Rockets legend, shout out to him. But just with the ability to pass the ball, play make for others in the half court spacing, while also being a solid threat in the post with his just array of post moves. He definitely needs to work with Hakeem Olajuwon over the summer to work on his post, because he had a little baby dream shake, which was amazing to see. But he's always bringing life into a dead Rockets offense, which you can't ask for, because Tice doesn't do that. Tice will not come into a game and bring offense. He can only bring offense if he has a pick and roller, Kevin Porter Jr. and a Jalen Green in, who's playmaking for him. Versus Sengun can kind of create his own shot. He can just playing for others. We know about that. But then if we also look at like his weaknesses, it's his quickness on the perimeter. He is not the best defender on the perimeter. Heck, I think he's a below average perimeter defender. He almost got exposed again with LeBron against that game against the Lakers, but I do not want to think about that. And his 3-point consistency, he's made some open shots, but it's not consistent, and it's not consistent to a point where people will gravitate towards him. So, Steven Silas is left with this conundrum of, do I play Tice? Do I play Sengun? Because trust me, I can tell you, in his head, he wants to be able to play both, but he knows that, with this small ball lineup, he can only really play two of them for a majority of a game. But at the same time, when he plays the double big lineup, yes, he can play all three, but the offense is just so bad. And it's honestly demoralizing, which each and every additional loss. The Rockets are currently on their, they lost 13 straight games. These players, they don't want to lose. They're all pros, they're all competitors. They do not like losing. And just the fact that they keep losing night in, night out, it's really bad for them. But yeah, you guys gotta let us know in the comments what you think about, what Silas has to do, because it's not easy to just bench Tice. It's not easy to not play Sengun. He really has some like hard coaching decisions to make.
And this leaves us with the final and probably the most pivotal cog in this front court, and that is Christian Wood. Again, Christian Wood coming into the season had a lot of high expectations. People were expecting that all-star jump from him. And it's safe to say that we certainly haven't seen that happen. Christian Wood has developed in the opposite direction so far this season, as he's regressed in basically every major statistical category except rebounds. Just some comparisons from his stats from last season to this season. His points per game have dropped by about 5. His field goal percentage has dropped by about 7. His 3-point percentage has dropped by about 6, and his free throw percentage has dropped by a whole 12% to now 51% from the free throw line. That's numbers that you would expect from like DeAndre Jordan or Ben Simmons or Andre Drummond. And this is the type of number that we're getting from Christian Wood so far. And say what you want about, the cause of those, whether it be his lack of involvement in the offense, which is what Christian Wood would give you as the answer, or if it's just that he tries to do too much on the basketball court, which is probably what most everyone else is seeing. And also it might just be something mental where he feels like he's bigger than he really is. And the ego aspect of it comes into play. There's a lot of factors, a lot of questions as to, why he's playing the way that he is. But the fact of the matter is, he is still probably the best front court player on this team right now. And he is the guy who's going to make or break this small ball lineup, both on the offensive and the defensive end. The keys to this lineup with Christian Wood are definitely going to be his 3-point shooting and also his ability to hang with centers on the defensive end. Again, the whole experiment with Christian Wood at the 4, I don't think has worked. I don't think that Christian Wood has the tools to play the power forward position. I think he is a center by nature. And as a result of that, I think the real question comes down to how is he going to hang with centers on the defensive side of the ball. If he can stay with centers on defense, then I think this lineup is going to be a success. If he can't, then you start to wonder about what you can potentially try to do to offset that. Maybe give Tice some more minutes, see what Sengun can do. He's been good on the interior, of course, the perimeters where Sengun struggles. But if Wood can hold his own on defense, then this lineup is going to be really, really successful. I don't think Wood's shooting struggles are going to stick for the rest of the season. I think he's going to bounce back. Is he going to be better than what he was last season? Probably by a little bit. I don't know if he's going to make the all-star jump that people were expecting him to. I think he is what he is at this point. Again, a lot of people talking about trading him at the deadline, but that I think is a topic for another video. For Christian Wood, I think it's just a matter of can he hold his own on defense, and also if he can bounce back from his offensive struggles on basically every aspect of offense, whether it be scoring, passing, etc. He has really struggled on the offensive side of the ball. And of course, the defense, this has been the issue for him ever since he's come in Houston. And that will basically wrap it up for us here. Again, 2 main positions are the questions here for this small ball lineup. Number 1 is the small forward, and I think personally that is going to be just played out by committee for the rest of the year. I don't see any of the 3 major candidates for this position really emerging as the starting small forward or the established small forward in the small ball lineup. And then for the center position, this is a little bit more interesting because now we are already seeing talks about Christian Wood being traded at the deadline. We're already seeing talks about Daniel Tice being traded at the deadline. This opens up a question as to thinking if Sengun plays really well in his time, now a Wood trade is more likely, and then you have Sengun emerging as the main guy. If Wood plays really well, we could just see another year of him staying there as the main guy in the small ball offense. And then Tice, of course, he's just gonna, if he can bounce back from his sluggish start, he can maintain that sixth man off the bench type of role in this lineup. But again, let us know down in the comment section, first of all, your thoughts on this lineup. If you feel like this is going to be an effective run for the rest of the season. And number two, who would you like to see slotted in these small forward and center positions? Again, DJ talked about it earlier in this video. Tice or Sengun, who do you feel is going to emerge in this second center role? I think we can all assume that Christian Wood is going to be first, and so I think it really comes down to the second of Tice or Sengun. Let us know down in the comment section what you think about both of those. And as always, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on post notifications, and we will see you in the next one. Peace.